Hey, everybody. It's Johnny Walker Dread. And Kayla is supposed to be on tonight, and I just got a text from her. She's trying to get on. All right. Well, at any rate, we have a number of guests, so I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourselves. Allison, why don't you start off?
Oh, okay. I'm I'm Allie over on All Porch Self Defense on X on Twitter, and I've joined maybe about 2 years ago. Mhm.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay. And now we have another one that's I have not heard from in a long time, and I'm not sure how she wants to be introduced. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. So go for it.
I'm Kiever Dam.
And how long has it been since you were on the show?
A couple years.
Yeah.
I still have the link to the stream that I was on.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
It's probably on my channel somewhere.
Yeah, it
All
is.
right.
It's about the
All right.
Buffalo shooting.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was the one over at the Tops grocery store, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. All right. And Kayla, have you managed to get on? I guess not. Oh,
She's
well.
trying.
She's trying. I don't know if. Okay. There's nothing I can do on my end right now. So I'm just hoping that she can get it straightened out. She's able to log in, but we just can't hear her. And I hope I'm coming in loud and clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have a number of things that are happening tonight. As you know, and I'm talking to Allison because I don't think that you've seen it. Excuse me. The Progressive magazine had a couple of articles out, and oh, geez. Yeah, they're pretty bad. So I thought we would have a pretty good kick here and read that. And then Rashad Ritchie has spoken up on Kyle Rittenhouse recently. And of course, the idiocy just shines through with Rashad. So I thought we would also have a few good laughs over that. And anything else that you want to talk about? First of all, let me ask, what do you guys think about Kyle's ventures into the public speaking thing so far?
I think he should
Um,
tell his story.
So he
yeah,
should
I
tell a
think
story. I mean, he tells the story about what happened that night, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I'm a little tired of it. I'll be honest with
yeah,
you. I mean, I
yeah.
already know what happened, but
I
you
just
still.
don't feel that he should be going to the schools that are very, liberal about that, where there's a lot of hate. I think he should go to maybe something different.
What you mean by different? You mean like more conservative?
Yes, more conservative. Yeah. And they are nicer to him there, but you know, the Democrats or the liberals, they want to voice their opinions and stuff, but they're like overpowering his voice and they just have so much hate and everything
Well, we're
that
going to
he
talk about
can't
that because
even
Rashad
voice
Ritchie
anything.
has a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Um, I haven't heard anything from. I know that he said some stuff, but I just didn't go into it yet.
Okay.
Rashad.
Oh yeah. Well, everybody knows that I can't stand the dude.
Yeah, he's
All right.
stupid.
Let's see here. Let me blow this up a bit, and uh, and I'll periodically stop to so that you can all comment. And I think that we can go ahead and just read it out straight. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
The whole sharing thing is still kind of an issue for me. All right. Can everybody see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. It says Wisconsin jury finds Kyle Rittenhouse not guilty on all accounts. So this is an older magazine. And the reason why I'm bringing this thing up is because they just released a new one that kind of ties into this. And when I was reading this, I'm just thinking, you have got to be kidding. Now, keep in mind, it says here that this magazine has been around since 1909. Wow.
Hmm.
Who would have thought? All right, here we go. After illegally carrying an AR-15 from Illinois to Kenosha, Wisconsin, the then 17-year-old shot 3 people, killing 2.
That sounds
Is there
right.
anything wrong with that?
Yes, the gun wasn't illegally possessed, and it never crossed state lines.
You
Um,
know,
that's
it's
it.
keep in mind he's been found not guilty, so this is after the judge had ruled that the gun was legal.
Hmm. Yep.
I don't know. So let's move on. It says here Kyle Rittenhouse illegally carrying an AR 15, which he used to kill 2 and wound another in Kenosha. So they repeated the header as a caption. That's great. Kyle
Oh,
Rittenhouse. Go
she's
ahead.
trying. Kayla's trying to join.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
It's not letting her, I guess, but she's trying.
Okay, let me try it. Let's see here. No. Okay, she's in the studio, but there's no action.
Hmm.
I don't know. Um, don't know. But just keep me informed.
I
Okay.
have a question. I have a
Sure.
question. Now, there's another article that Zach Roberts wrote. Are you going to read that one, or is this one's a different one? This one you're reading is the 2021. The one Zach Roberts wrote is 2024, just a few like
I
last
think
week.
I think that's the other one I have loaded up. Hang on, let me just check.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep, Zach
Okay,
Roberts. We're gonna read it.
all
That's the
right.
one I was saying that this leads into.
Oh, got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, here we go. Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse, the white teenager who shot 3 people, killing 2 of them. You got to be told that again. During
Mhm.
Black Lives Matter protests in downtown Kenosha, Wisconsin, was found not guilty. Okay, I don't have any problems so far. And come on. The Kenosha County jury in the Rittenhouse murder trial found that Rittenhouse acted in self-defense when he fatally shot Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber and injured Gage. Okay, and I'm sorry. After traveling to Kenosha from Illinois and posting himself at a used car lot, which he said he was defending from vandalism with his AR-15 style rifle. And I think Kayla is. Kayla, are you there?
I see
Kayla.
five squares.
Yeah, she's got 2 squares. She's loaded up 2 places here. Um,
Oh,
yeah, I don't know. Don't know what's happening there. Okay, I'll keep
maybe
an
she
eye
needs
on it.
to try restarting your phone.
Oh, she's on her phone. Oh yeah, she doesn't have a computer.
Let's see.
Okay, any rate. So it says here that he said he was defending this used car lot.
Hmm.
And notice how they put that in there. Like, it's pretty clear he was defending it. Whether you wanted him to defend it or not is not an issue. I mean, well, that's a different issue, right? But there's no doubt that he's there defending it.
Yes, and he's not the only one. They leave out so much. They
Oh,
feel
yeah.
it makes it feel like he's like the lone person or something.
Yeah, he's with a group.
Yes.
Okay, it says Rosenbaum, Huber, and Grosskreutz were in Kenosha along with hundreds of demonstrators during the days of protests against the shootings of Jacob Blake by Kenosha. Okay, I don't see an issue there. And it talks about how the jury deliberated for 4 days after hearing 8 days testimony. And let's see here. Okay. All right, here we go. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers activated the National Guard.
Evers.
Is it Evers?
Yeah, it's Evers.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
To help the city in the event of unrest. Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, who is running for U.S. Senate, issued a statement from his campaign account immediately after the verdict saying, over the last few weeks, many dreaded the outcome we just witnessed. He's really even handed here. The presumption of innocence until proven guilty is what we should expect from our judicial system, but that standard is not always applied equally. We have seen so many black and brown youth killed, only to be put on trial posthumously, while the innocence of Kyle Rittenhouse was virtually demanded by the judge.
Well, there's Crystal Kaiser.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting, but she might be convicted though.
Hmm.
What if she's convicted?
Well, at least she's still alive.
Yeah. Now, to those who don't know it, Crystal Kaiser, because I don't know if people know about Crystal Kaiser on the national scene. Okay. But Crystal Kaiser is a young black female who was, I think, 15 when
She's 16.
she put an ad out basically selling her services, right? And I think she was like 15 at that time.
Hmm.
And this guy named Randall Volar III, he saw what he thought was some hot. He responds, and I guess they become a couple. Now, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, or he was just a predator and she was a prey, let's face it, it's not a legal deal. I mean, you can't go dating 15-year-old girls.
Hmm.
But to the extent to how far that went is kind of not known. But at any rate, she's a car thief, and she was busted and actually sentenced for stealing cars. And the day that she was sentenced, she takes an Uber down to Kenosha to party with Randall Vollard, who bailed her out, by the way. And at some point during the night, he's sitting down. She got behind him and shot him to death with a pistol that she carried with her down from Milwaukee. And she's claiming as basically a safe harbor affirmative defense, saying that because I was trafficked by him, that means I can kill him. I mean, that's kind of her argument. And there's some support for that. Okay. And the trial for her is going to occur this summer. It's in June, late June. If you think that the Kyle Rittenhouse deal is going to be bad, wait till Crystal Kaiser comes out. Keep in mind, she shot Randall at 17 and in Kenosha, Wisconsin, same town, same age, but she's a black female and he's a white male. Oh, it's going to be brutal. I'm telling
Yeah.
you. The innocence of Kyle Rittenhouse was virtually demanded, excuse me, by the judge. Wow. I mean, Judge Schroeder virtually demanded that the jurors give out a innocence or not guilty verdict. I mean, they don't know much about Judge Schroeder, do they?
No.
Um, because he's a Democrat.
Yep. Lifelong.
Like what?
Lifelong.
Yeah.
Like what, 40 years? 40, 50
Appointed
years?
by a Democratic governor. I mean, and I mean, I think that besides Wendy Rittenhouse, who's been slaughtered by people for no good reason, this judge also has been really badly dragged through the mud without any good reason.
Yeah.
I look at what he did as being extremely fair. Hey, guess who's on? I think we
Okay.
Oh,
Kayla.
yes.
Okay,
Hi.
so so do you guys want the good news or the bad news?
Bad news
well, we're
first.
gonna get both.
Okay.
Okay. Well, of course. Okay, so it's not working on my phone and I'm trying to figure out why. I'm on my iPad, but it's at a 2%.
So you're gonna run out of battery?
Yeah.
Well, why not plug it in?
Yeah, plug it in and
How am I
plug it
supposed
No.
in.
to charge it without my headsets, so? Or with my headsets, because I have my headsets in.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an iPad user.
Yeah, me neither.
Like I don't have like a wireless charger for the iPad, and I would have to charge it by taking out my headsets. Does that make sense?
I
Um,
guess.
I guess, yeah. I mean, like I say, I don't know much about those.
Yeah, I
Well,
have like no Apple products.
what I could do is charge it for like 10 minutes and then join back in 10 minutes and see
Sure,
if it can get up to like maybe a 30 or something.
sure.
Because that would be what I would need, right?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I
Yeah.
suppose.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, why don't you
guys.
take a step out
Or try your
and
And
phone.
I'll even take a screenshot and show you. Now it's at a 1%.
yeah, you better go.
All
Yeah.
right.
All
All
right,
right.
I'll see.
See ya.
Okay. And the problem with the whole judge thing is people just don't understand admissibility of evidence. They just don't get it. Why didn't they allow the CVS video footage? Well, there are very good reasons why. What about Pudgies? Why didn't he allow Pudgies? There's very good reasons why. And the whole, I mean, they even argue that a fist fight that Kyle got into with should be admitted. I mean, give me a break. But it's one of the things that astounds me was the complete inability of the public to understand courtroom procedures and basic you know legal 101. It's one thing to have the misconception, but after somebody explains it to you and you still don't get it. All right, let's move on here. Despite Kyle Rittenhouse's conscious decision to take the lives of two people protesting the shooting of Jacob Blake by
No, they
police,
weren't.
he was not held responsible for his actions,
Yes,
something
he
that is
was.
not surprising.
Yes, he was. He turned himself in. He was charged, jailed, and put on trial. He didn't get away with it scot-free.
Exactly.
And what about a conscious decision to take the lives of two people?
He had less than a second to react, and they were not protesting shit.
Allie, what do you think? Fair?
I think fair, yes.
Okay, and this is the indirect. Keep in mind, this is interim executive director of the ACLU of Wisconsin, fighting for your rights, which unless it's like self-defense.
Isn't that what Grosskreutz was part of? ACLU of Wisconsin?
You know what? Maybe he was. Allie, do you know anything about that? Was he
Um,
involved in the ACLU of Wisconsin?
he was involved with People's Revolution.
Right.
If I
Okay. Now
recall.
that one I know.
He
Yeah.
was streaming for some organization, I think, when at the time.
Okay. So I don't know about
He
the
was asking
ACLU.
Kyle if he shot somebody and stuff and started chasing him.
I had a lot more respect for the ACLU back in the day,
Yeah.
but I mean, this is irresponsible. All right, it goes on. But Kyle Rittenhouse isn't the only one responsible for the deaths that night. The events in Kenosha stem from the deep roots of white supremacy in our society's institutions. They underscore that the police do not protect communities of color in the same way they do white people.
Rosenbaum and
That
Huber were responsible for their own deaths that night, not Kyle.
And what's this communities of color thing? I mean,
exactly.
I mean, they looted a community of color on 22nd Avenue uptown. They burned down a bunch of shit, all
that's
the
right.
strip mall or whatever, and a lot of black people live in that area.
Mhm. And of
So
course, we have the Kendrys. Well, I
Now,
guess they
do
don't
you
yeah,
count
live?
with it.
the
Now,
Kandiris, yeah.
do you live in Wisconsin?
Yes, I was
Or
born and raised in Kenosha. I don't live there anymore, but
oh,
I still live in the vicinity.
okay, yeah. So we have a good person on to understand everything and
Yeah.
speak out.
Yep.
All right. When's the last time you were in Kenosha?
I was there yesterday, actually. I was just driving around because they're actually closing several schools when the school year ends. So I just drove past and reminisced. So I also drove past the shooting scene and stuff. Car Source and that.
Well, did some of the businesses actually go back in? Because I do know there's I think a taco Mexican place that they had to relocate, and then the mattress store. I wonder if they went back
Yeah,
in.
I know about the mattress store. They relocated, and I think they relocated the Danish Brotherhood Lodge, which was in the same building as the mattress shop.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
sure about the Choco Mexican place, but yeah,
Hmm.
the Car Source one, just north of 60th, I guess, is abandoned. But I think the one on 63rd, where Rosenbaum was shot, I think that's still in business.
Hmm. Yes, because I think like the two car sources weren't burned down after, there was help. The first one burned
Yeah.
down the very first night. That's when they asked for security and public volunteer.
Mm. Yeah, I think.
And
I
it,
don't know. I was watching the
Mhm,
live streams on YouTube at the time. I didn't go down there at all.
Well,
I kind of wanted to though because there's a place down there that I volunteer for, and I was
mhm.
afraid they were going to target that place, but they didn't, thankfully. So yeah, they
I
burned
think
down a
what was
furniture store. They burned down a furniture store. The detention center. The detention center was rebuilt, and they relocated the furniture store too. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
because there was a lot of protesters and everything that was in near the, the city, the courthouse area and everything, I think in the city buildings. And then they moved everything to the residential and all the businesses, and that's when they started rioting and hitting all the cars and burning all the
Yeah.
buildings and everything.
Yeah.
You know what I would like? I would love to have the Kendrys on, and not to talk about their testimony. I would just
Yeah.
want to know how things went after the ordeal. I mean, are they what kind of losses have they taken? Whatever happened to their insurance claims? Because I'm actually not against the Kendrys. A lot of Kyle
Actually,
supporters don't like him,
they
but
had an article. There was on the news that the insurance didn't cover it.
well,
And a lot of the
how old?
cars were consignment and everything too.
Yeah. Well, how old is this article?
You know what?
2021.
I'm not sure.
It was the
Okay, because I may
day
have
that
read
Kyle
that.
was acquitted.
Yeah,
It
I
was written the
knew
day.
that they were in court to try to get the insurance company to pay up, and I'm just very curious as to what happened because if those cars were on consignment, now they're getting sued by all the car owners for losses.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I would if you're ever back in Kenosha,
Yeah.
if you have the inkling, you might ask them if they'd like to come on because it would be
Okay.
great if they could come out and tell their story. And I'm not going to pester them about the testimony and all that. That's water under the bridge as far as I'm concerned. Kyle was acquitted. It's over. And and I'm actually pretty much a very good sympathy. I even have a video where I defended them, because whatever. But
Yeah.
I would love to have them on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
could
that's a good
and
point, by the way.
let
That
them see the video. Mhm.
what's that?
She could actually let them see the video when she
Yeah,
goes down there.
yeah, okay. Maybe not because I'm
Oh,
pretty
okay.
well. The reason why I say that is I'm actually defending them because of their family structure, and I'm going into areas that they're afraid they might get questioned about.
Oh, got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
So because they probably don't want me hammering on about who their dad is and
Hmm.
does your dad really run the affairs of the company and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But if you want to just say, look, I mean, you have I'm not a supporter per se, but I am more than happy to have them come on and just explain how all this affected them. And
Mhm.
there's not going to be, and I'll say this: there's going to be a lot of people piping in, asking them about the testimony. I'm not going to have them answer those questions.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you can, that'd be great. And also, Liquidator says um, you're spitting facts. The knowledge base with us is off the charts. Absolutely, we just
Thank you.
know more than they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, the live stream. Which video were you talking about, Allie?
Oh, in regards to, you mean the Kendry brothers? Or which
Yeah,
one?
you said
Uh,
I could show them a video or something.
oh, I was talking about Johnny Walker's
Oh, okay,
video. And then he says, oh
gotcha.
no, you might want to hold off on that one.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, sorry about that.
it's all right. I actually went to an elementary school that was right across the street from Car Source 3.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, it's gone now. It's called Durkee Elementary, but now it's the parking lot for the hospital.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and Car Source 3 used to be a full service gas station called Bert and Rudy's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they had 3 sites. One is gone. The other is still there. What about the third? What about the mechanics shop?
The car doctor,
Um,
I think that's still there.
yeah, that's still
I don't know. I
there.
don't frequent that. I'm not a patron there. I've never gone there, so
Mhm. I mean, can you imagine? Because you have to put yourself in these guys' shoes. They burned down a bunch of cars, and the next day, they called the insurance company. Well, what else
yeah.
would you do, right? And the insurance company's telling them, "No, we're not covering you." Can you imagine the blood draining from your face when you're going to have to turn to those people who put their car in your trust and tell them that, well, it's just too bad, but there's no insurance on it. So, you know, I mean, you're going to get sued up the yin yang.
Mhm.
And so when you look at that, it's not hard to understand why they would have turned to a bunch of kids to say, hey, can you help us out? Because the police ain't going to help them.
Nope. Yeah,
So
people
what do
on
they?
Twitter are like, "Oh, why the police could have done what Kyle did, but they didn't."
No. Well, I always tell them,
Never
well, I'll tell you
told.
what, next time you go on vacation, have the police try to guard your house while you're gone and see what they say. They're going to
Yeah.
say, hire private security. Well, that's what these guys did.
Yeah.
Now, was it the best private security? Well, they were effective, but at the same time, you can't be too picky, right?
Yeah.
Um, they actually I think that the actual requirements were you're armed and you're willing to protect my property, and that was pretty much
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Um, Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines to come to Wisconsin with the intent to infiltrate a peaceful protest organized by leaders and residents in Kenosha calling for racial justice. He did not come to help the community.
Yes, he did.
How did they not know that? I don't understand.
Listen, he waved a gun in the face of people exercising their First Amendment rights.
No, he didn't.
That's not lie. No, he did not.
He came with support from white nationalist groups to incite violence and intimidate Wisconsinites, black, white, and brown, to keep us from speaking out. Because that's what
No, he
went
didn't.
on. Like, when the people were going like, Black Lives Matter, he was pointing a gun in their head saying, you just shut the hell up. That's in their minds. That's what he was doing in his attempts to stop people from exercising their rights. He shot and killed 2 innocent men and harmed another.
They were not innocent.
And I would say you can't make this up, but they're making it up. I mean,
Yes.
this
Yep.
is
I mean, do did the media not have some kind of code of ethics or something? Did you
well.
just
Let's
throw it
see.
out the window?
This is Joanna Botch. I can picture her right now with the silver hair, and with the T-shirt, Biden, the Obama T-shirt and all that. Citizen Action of Wisconsin. She's the movement politics director, and dumber than a brick. All I can
Hmm.
say.
I don't see how they could lie like that.
Well, they can. I mean, it's not. It's we see this crap, of course, on Twitter, right? But it's Twitter. This is
Yes,
in a journal that's been around since 1909.
yeah, very misleading. They're not very good journalists if they didn't do their homework.
Was Kyle part of the Kenosha Guard? No. And let me go ahead and address this. And by the way, I'm thinking of actually doing my own college tours. I mean, they're not going to be popular like Kyle's, but and they're probably not going to be like real, incendiary like Kyle's.
Hmm.
But I'm thinking of actually going around and contacting TPUSA and saying, "Look, would you like somebody to take and get in front of a crowd and say, hey, let's talk about what actually happened?"
Hmm.
And I mean, I'm a college lecturer, so I can get up in front of college students and talk. So
Hmm.
I got that part down. I think I could do a good job of it. But unlike
Well,
Kyle, I'm going to talk about the facts and everything instead of just explaining what happened. It's just
hmm.
so. Was Kyle part of the Kenosha Guard? And this is a typical question that you could get, and the answer is no. The Kenosha Guard was a sort of an informal. It wasn't even a real thing. But Kevin Mathewson of the Kenosha County Eye sent a letter to the police saying that he was going to have a whole bunch of people coming in to help protect the city, and he put this on Facebook and he called it the Kenosha Guard. But there was never any Kenosha Guard. It's not an organization. And Kyle didn't know anything about that. So Kyle was not involved in that whatsoever. And this is going to be kind of interesting because they're trying to make that claim that he was in the lawsuits. And all you listeners out there, if you're wanting to know what the lawsuits against Kyle Rittenhouse actually say, go to my channel. I actually read them. All right. Um, so they actually make the comment that Kyle Rittenhouse was persuaded to come to Kenosha as part of this Kenosha Guard thing, but he wasn't. Kyle didn't know anything about that.
Kyle explains why he went there on the stand.
Well, yeah,
And
and
want to tell a story, right?
Hmm.
And
On
people
when
are
he
like,
was,
"Oh, why is he
testifying.
testifying?"
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
People are like, "Why
he
is he
testified.
testifying?"
Yeah.
Yeah, some people think he was forced to testify when he wasn't.
Well, I mean, you're talking about Kyle. Um, you can't force him to testify, but I mean, obviously, he would have been urged or compelled to testify if the lawyers felt that that was in his best interest. But he was obviously free to deny that if he wanted to. You can't force him to on the stand. Um, quite frankly, everybody's talking about how well that was the turning point. I don't think it would have mattered. And I know that they ran their little mock jury things, but
Yeah,
I
they did 3 mock juries.
yeah, and I don't
Mhm.
see a jury convicting Kyle, even if he hadn't taken the stand. Keep in mind, I mean, all right, you can get a hung jury, but to convince all 12 that he was guilty based on what Binger brought forward, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I would be on the jury, and let's say I never heard of Kyle, and I'd be thinking, wait, um, there's supposed to be evidence, right? Like everything I've seen, I just can't see it. I don't think that Kyle was in really any danger of being convicted, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. Okay, we got here. I saw a picture of him cleaning graffiti off a building in Kenosha after the Car Source 1 fire night. Yeah, that was, well, I know that Nathan DeBruin took some photos, but the one that you saw, I'm not sure who took it. But yeah, he was cleaning graffiti off the
In the
wall
morning.
at school. And what's that?
It was in the morning of
Yeah,
was it the 25th? Yeah.
yeah, it was the morning. Keep in mind, and I know that Allie, you may not like what I'm going to say here, but
Yep.
I am unlike all these YouTubers going around with the truth. I do talk the truth here. And in my opinion, while Kyle was there helping clean graffiti, um, I don't know how much of that was just really altruistic or mostly just because, well, Dominic is there doing it. And I think he wanted to get his picture taken a few times. I don't think there's
His
anything wrong with
sister.
that.
No, his sister was there too.
That's right. His sister was there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, and it's the same thing with guarding, car source. I think part of that was just wanting something to do. I
Yeah.
mean, I I don't
Wanted
have
to help the
quite the
community.
block of Kyle as a lot of people do. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying he just wanted to help the community instead of there was a lot of people helping cleaning the graffiti.
Yeah.
There was
And
a
by the
whole
way,
row of them.
I
Yeah.
don't see how you can clean that off. That's
No,
poor
I had
sport.
I was taking care of rental property and they spray painted the door of the garage. It was very hard. I just repainted it over. Much easier. Just get some paint and just paint it right over.
Yeah, you're not going to clean that off.
Yeah, it's difficult to clean off. Just get paint to paint it right over is fine.
Mhm. Okay, let's see here. Now, here's what's interesting. A misdemeanor weapons possession charge was dismissed by Judge Bruce Schroeder before the jury began its deliberations. After the defense successfully argued that Wisconsin law allowed Kyle Rittenhouse to possess the AR 15 he carried in Kenosha since it was not short barrel. Do you see a problem with that?
Um,
You forgot.
yeah. Yeah, they allowed him to possess it because it was legal.
After illegally carrying an AR 15 from Illinois to Kenosha.
Yep. Yep.
It's like, wait. After illegally carried an AR 15, and then later, after he's found in legal possession of the gun. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's why the gun charge was
I
dismissed because it was legal.
think they just do that on purpose.
Oops, okay, let's see here. And by the way, I have a severe distaste for this governor of yours,
Yeah.
this Evers.
Yeah, there were yard signs saying "Worst Governor Evers."
And no verdict will be able to bring back the lives of Anthony Huber and Joseph Rosenbaum. In the case of Joseph Rosenbaum, good. Or heal Gage Grosskreuz's injuries, just as no verdict can heal the wounds or trauma experienced by Jacob Blake, good, and his family.
But
No
I
ruling
don't
today.
understand. They're the one that started it.
Yeah,
I don't understand. They're the ones that attack Kyle. If they didn't attack him, they would be fine.
Yep, he'd be
Simple.
alive.
and Jacob Blake. I mean, how many lives did Jacob Blake destroy? And he's not a good dude. He's a really, really bad person.
But he changed after his accident. He looked to God, forgave his shooter and everything. Yeah.
Okay, but
That's what I
fine. But
saw.
what's done is done.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
before that, he was pretty bad. Yeah.
we got Sean on. Hey, how's it going?
What's up, dude? Yeah, I just got your message. I've had a bit of a busy message. I listened in a little bit, so I kind of have an idea
Okay.
what's going on. But yeah, I had a friend in from out of town this weekend, so uh,
Okay.
we've been having a lot of fun.
All right. What have you been doing? It's so fun.
Uh, Hanging out, barbecuing, and drinking.
Okay, I'm down.
That's
Have you been able to pay attention to what we've been doing here?
I've gotten part of the gist of this, right? Like we've gotten through the we're talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse speaking tour, and I paid attention to some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where you're at now, but I'll catch up. Keep going.
Well, actually, I think I'm kind of done with this article. Um, okay, so going back, this article was written after the verdict, and it is absolute garbage. And it's just an example of what we face out there. You
yes.
know.
And that's why
Okay.
Kyle is out there speaking because the media lies.
Yeah, but you know what, Allie, and I'm glad you brought that up because he goes up there and he just tells, and then I was carrying my rifle, and then I see Joe's. But to be honest, I don't know if that's very effective. I mean,
Yeah.
if there are things that people are saying that are wrong, get up there and say, "Here's what you're saying. Here's the fact." But instead, he kind of just drones through this life story thing, and
Maybe he could go through with the media lies. There's like 10 lies out there. Then he could just maybe, this is what they're saying about me, and this is the fact.
Yeah, there's a New York Post on the lies too.
yeah. Okay, so here, just thought I'd let people know it's not just conservatives and moderates who agree with the verdict. Many liberals agree with it too. I'm personally liberal myself. Okay, and guess what? Neil Kernan is a progressive. He's a Bernie supporter, fierce Kyle Rittenhouse defender. Um, Paul Katz became a big Kyle Rittenhouse defender, even though he was one of Kyle's biggest detractors, and even helped Binger collect evidence in the trial. And then he saw, wait a minute, this is all wrong. I got it wrong. And he completely did a 180 and became a Kyle supporter. And he's a
I mean,
hardcore leftist.
yeah, there's more, right? Destiny, he's a personality that's, he from the get-go said, by the letter of the law, Kyle's innocent. Like all that other things you guys are saying about he shouldn't have been, it's superfluous to the law. David Pakman, he said the same thing. David Pakman said the same thing. Even Anna Kasparian has come around and said, I was wrong about the Kyle Rittenhouse story. That was self-defense.
Yeah. It took a while for some of them.
Yeah.
But,
It was about 3 years after the verdict, but she finally figured it out.
yeah. All right. Are you guys ready for the Roberts one or whatever his name is? Zach?
Yes.
Sure. Let's
Okay.
go.
I think this is it. Yeah, here it is. When Kyle Rittenhouse came to Kent State, and by the way, I'm kind of glad I let in with the other one because now we got a few more people, on board here.
Yes.
Um, trying to get my mouse going. All right. The young acquitted murderer is being paraded around campuses to stir up controversy. I mean, he comes
Name a
out
more oxymoronic headline.
with it's like
Mhm.
acquitted murderer.
Like, so not a murderer.
Mhm.
That's
Oh,
isn't that what
Okay.
acquitted murderer means? Like they cancel each other out.
Well, okay. So what do you think about though, like O.J. Simpson? I mean, that's what they think of, right?
No, yeah, I get it. They're just saying like a person that many people think is guilty of murder, but was ultimately acquitted.
And by the way, I keep telling people, look, we didn't have video of O.J. Simpson defending himself against Nicole.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say if you had as much video evidence that Kyle Rittenhouse defended himself as like what OJ did, I mean, it would be. I mean, there wouldn't even be an argument.
Right.
He would either be definitively guilty or definitively innocent based on the video evidence.
yeah. So
And I
are
wouldn't.
people saying that Nicole attacked OJ? Is that what they're saying?
No, no, no. I'm just saying that
No,
for
So
it would be synonymous if that is actually what happened, right?
yeah,
yeah,
but I tell people, it's, Kyle got attacked and OJ was the attacker, so it's opposite.
well, it's the idea that you can be an acquitted murderer, right? Like
Mhm.
that sounds oxymoronic, but like, does anybody really think OG was innocent? Think a lot of people are like, no, we don't really think
Yeah.
that. Uh, so I mean, that's what they're implying. Like, even though he was
Hmm.
acquitted, he was guilty somehow, which
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense based on any of the evidence or what happened at the trial.
Hmm.
But they can roll with it. That's fine. and people like you can keep making fun of them on the internet.
Oh, it says here, by the way, his speaking engagements are a bit of a joke. I support him, but he should get his education handled and try to just live a normal lifestyle. Comments?
I have talked about this before, and I'll talk about it more as we go through this article.
Okay, good deal. And let's see here. He has to get his story 100% straight. He wants to keep telling it at these campuses. Can't name any of the inconsistencies of her based off the top of my head, but I've noticed, I'm sure not the okay. So in other words, Kyle has a tendency to contradict himself. Maybe I don't know for sure because I haven't heard that, but I don't doubt it. I mean,
I haven't heard the last speech or I
okay.
haven't heard the last one, so I'm not sure what the inconsistencies were.
Well, I mean, if you guys have any idea
Neither.
what those inconsistencies are out there in viewer land, pop them into the chat. I'm more than happy to field them. I might be able to clear them. I don't know.
My guess is that he's working with like the TPUSA people to just like to go over kind of like the story of what he's going to tell. And once you're trying to tell like a grand story to entertain an audience, like you're
Mhm.
going to have embellishments here and there. Like it's just going to happen. It has to happen, or else why are you up there talking? Nobody wants to listen to you just to repeat the things that they could have already read online.
Well, we saw that with his book, right? He claimed in his book that Joshua Zeminski was pointing a gun at him. Well, that's the first I've heard that.
Yeah.
And I have a video on it saying that is not a good idea to come out with that in a book. But I mean, his lawyers approved it, but I don't know. I don't know about his lawyers. I really don't.
Yeah, no, he could easily say, well, the reason he's saying that is because after the fact, he knows that he shot a bullet in the air behind him, and he didn't have any way of knowing that it wasn't pointing at him. He thought it was pointing at him, so he's going to say it was pointing at him.
Okay, so he says here, I believe at Kent, he said Huber's knee was on his chest. I think I heard that too.
Oh yeah. Um, you know what? I do know that he was pulling it, and I don't know, it might have been on his chest. I gotta check. Because I saw him because there's like multiple different pictures and another one where he was like going down on Kyle. So it might have been on his knee. So I gotta double check that.
A knee might
Well,
have touched his chest for a little bit, but if you
Yeah.
slow down time, like he probably could think in his head, he could probably justify it. That's the kind of things I'm talking about. I'm sure is happening when he's giving these speeches.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that he's getting help with the speech writing.
well, I'll be honest with you. Whatever help he's getting, he needs more help because
Yep,
his speeches are dull.
they're not very
Sorry,
good.
Kayla. I know Kayla's out there going, oh, I got to log in and
Yeah.
defend Kyle, but no, they're pretty dull. You know,
Didn't
sometimes they're
Yellow
good.
didn't Yellow Pants point his gun at Kyle and his group first, according to Joanne Fiedler?
Yes, he had a couple of guns. It was in her testimony.
Yeah.
He was saying that they had a couple of guns. They pointed the guns first, and
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody in their group pointed the gun. But when he said, when Yellow Pants said that you pointed the gun, he was going like this down. He didn't do this. He went down.
Yeah.
You were pointing your gun at me like this. So
By
he
the
was
way, I
putting it
invited
down.
Grambo to come on tonight, but I don't think she's going to be able to make it. I think she's a little tired. Okay, so let's go ahead and read here. Kyle Rittenhouse, the teenager who shot 3 people, killing 2 and injuring the third during a Black Lives Matter protest in 2020 in Kenosha, Wisconsin, spoke on April 16th at an event sponsored by the right-wing organization Turning Points. That's not the right name. It's Turning Point, right? Is it Turning Point USA or Turning Point?
It's Turning Point USA,
Yeah.
not
Yep.
Turning Points. Turning Point. There's one point where things turn.
Just 1 point. No S.
And I have a question for you, Zach. Have you ever heard of a period? I mean, This sentence goes on forever. Held at Kent State University in Ohio. And by the way, he did respond to my um, criticism on Twitter.
Yes, I
I told
noticed.
him it was boring. And he said, well, Kyle is a boring person. Then why write the article? You have a boring article about a boring person, probably shouldn't be published. Okay, Rittenhouse, 17 at the time of the shooting. Okay, a little tip out there um, for writers. You already said the teenager, and now you're telling us he was 17. There's no need for that. It's redundant. A little editing would really help this article. Is now 21 and makes money as a TPUS speaker. Oh my God, he makes money as a TPUSA speaker traveling from college to college, stirring up controversy and creating publicity for the group. In a previous
And
speaking, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is where I chime in with the the commenter said is like, whose fault is it that there's a demand for Kyle to come speak, right? Whose fault is it?
Question.
It's not right wingers.
Yeah.
It's the people that lied about him and still insist today that he was a wicked person that day, and that the judge got it wrong, was somehow compromised. Like those people's funny. That's why he's popular. That's why he's able to do these speaking engagements. The fact that people show up to protest, it's keeping him in the public eye. Like they're the ones that are propping him up.
I should make a mention here. It says, does he big up the sling? That's a tactical sling. It's fearsome. Okay. In a previous speaking engagement, a separate TPUSA event in Tennessee, he was heckled so badly that he had to leave the stage. Okay. I mean, from a certain person's standpoint, I can see that. According to a source with TPUSA, he earns $5,000 for each 30-minute talk. Okay, a little lesson here about writing. Here you mention how much he earns. Here you talk about him making money. Why don't you connect those together?
Wasn't he on a time limit anyway?
Yeah, I think
30
so.
minutes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would maybe one of the reasons why they moved him off. Obviously, the crowd is going to think they're going to take credit for it, right?
They also
Yeah.
think that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Like,
5,000 for a 30-minute talk.
well, yeah, to travel to a campus, to go through all the stuff, like it's not a 30-minute talk. Like it's not 30 minutes of work that he's
No.
doing. It's a whole week of planning. I'm sure it's a
Mhm.
decent amount of money, but I worked on the student union board when I was in college. I was on the comedy and concert committee, so we actually hired bands to come in, and like bands that you would think are not really, I mean, they're like moderately popular, they're going to charge you like $15,000 to come to your campus. Like a comedian, like I think Ed Helms wanted 10 grand to come do a 1 hour set. Like that's the kind of prices you're talking about when you're dealing with any kind of college event. And that was back in 2002 through 2005.
Well, I mean, my question would be, who cares? It's
Yeah.
none of your concern. This is TPUSA paying it.
Mhm.
True.
Like,
Well, and even if the college was paying it, that's what I'm saying. Colleges pay a lot of money to get people to speak at their campuses. It's a lot.
by the way, the same people that are probably all upset about this see no problem with President Claudine Gay from Harvard pulling about 900,000 and doing essentially no work. Oh, have you seen her latest the course she's teaching next? Reading and research. Yeah, she's teaching a course at Harvard on how to do research. The one who was busted for plagiarism. I'm telling you.
Yeah, don't send your kids to college. At least not Ivy League schools for things that aren't related to STEM.
Okay, he earns. Okay, so he makes money. So what? That's what makes the world go round. Rittenhouse and his family have been fundraising. What? Rittenhouse and his family have been fundraising relentlessly for legal costs before and after his acquittal. His mother, for example, appeared on InfoWars in 2020 and begged Alex Jones's audience for cash. So this whole thing about asking money, they have no trouble doing the give, send, go for all their little deals, right? But when somebody from the right side of the spectrum does it, oh, this is begging. They're grifting. It's-
Yeah, it's just a way to like paint it in like the whole article is just trying to paint everything he's doing in a negative light. Like, oh, and he's asking for money for this. Like, heaven forbid, like he's had ridiculous legal expenses in his past, and like the only thing he has going for him is that, I mean, to make money, really, to market himself, is that the same people writing this article continue to make him out to be a martyr to everybody that disagrees with them, which creates a demand for him to go on campuses and give speeches. So, I mean, I don't blame him for taking the money. Like, I don't like it. I wish he would have just faded away. I thought after he got acquitted, like 2 months later, this was a topic we could just drop. We'd stop talking about. But years later, still, like Kyle Rittenhouse is used as some sort of proxy for Trump, and I just don't get it. I don't get it.
you know, so who's really at fault? Because I think the left could come in and say, look, the only reason why we hate him is because he won't go away. So which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? How much of this
Uh,
is brought on by Kyle?
no, I think the left starts it because they could ignore it. It's really them driving his popularity. As soon as they ignore it, the right stops caring because they're just like, okay, this is not a cause of the left anymore.
Hmm.
If I'm a civil defense counsel, and it's Mark Richards, by the way, I'd argue contradictions don't matter because the video tells the full story. Yeah, there's some of that. Keep in mind, they're going after this. Kyle was involved in a conspiracy with the police deal. So they're not going to claim in the civil court that Kyle was guilty of murder so much. It's that Kyle's behavior and his involvement with the police is what caused all this to start with. So it's a different argument.
Which is insane. But
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like when you ask me like what came first or like who's really causing this, like who is going like they're digging that deep in order to keep the story alive. It's not the right.
Okay. Yeah, they didn't know. A lot of people don't know JoJo's history at all. Let's see here. Okay, so let's move on here. Kyle also lent his name to and appeared in ads for a video game titled Kyle Rittenhouse's Turkey Shoot, where people could shoot fake news turkeys.
I've seen that.
He's just bringing back old news.
Well, yeah. I mean, what do you think about the fake news turkey thing? I mean, I have videos on it.
uh, I didn't really have a problem with it. Like he didn't make the game or conscript the game.
Hmm.
The person came out with it. All it really was is, once again, what makes Kyle Rittenhouse famous? People lying about him all the time.
Hmm.
And so he just was like, "Oh, that's funny. That's why I'm famous." So yeah, sure, you can use my name.
Okay, so the story I heard from David Hancock was that Kyle basically went and approved that game over Dave Hancock's objections. He thought that the game was amateurish, kind of put Kyle in a bad light. The ad was amateurish, and it was.
Oh, it's a terrible game.
Terrible game, terrible ad, and he didn't make any money off of it. How much money do you think he made? A couple
Uh,
hundred at most.
negative dollars.
Well, the people who made the game probably lost, but I don't think that Kyle lost any money on it. He just didn't make anything.
Kayla's iPad is almost at 30%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody's saying hi.
A guy in his room. Yeah, I know him.
Okay, Rittenhouse's speech at Kent State included a shaky retelling of his 50 minutes of Second Amendment fame, including a mocking impression of his surviving victims. Oh, victim. He's Paul Prediger, formerly known as Gage Grosskreutz. Hey, Gage, you should have just kept your original name, man.
Yeah, what the fuck was
Yeah.
the point of change? I'm sorry, excuse my language. Like,
That's all right.
it really boggled my mind when I saw that headline. Why would you change your name and then show up to a Kyle Rittenhouse event, ask the person that was like, one of the people he shot,
More
eh,
like Paul
like,
Predator.
I don't get it.
Yes.
I don't understand.
And of all the
Did he
names,
have another reason to change his name besides the fact that he was part of a, very famous politically charged trial and he wanted to go away? Like literally he did what I thought Kyle should have done. I thought Kyle should have just kept silent, let things fade away, change his name, go to school, be a nurse, whatever he wanted to do. And then so Gage Grosskreutz, right, instead of trying to ride his life on being a victim or pretending to be a victim when he really was the victimizer, changed his name so that he could go back and just retire into the sunset or whatever. But he still this Kent State. I'm sorry. I'm getting flustered because I just don't get it. I do not get it.
yeah,
Why would he
I
show
agree.
up after the name change?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get Paul, but I do get Kyle because, how is he going to make a living if nobody's going to want to hire him?
Well, here's the thing also. I think that Dave Hancock and Paul Prediger, Gage Grosskreutz, are talking at length with each other. And I think that Dave Hancock has gotten Gage really worked up. And so
Yeah.
you'll notice that on social media that he seems to be taking a lot more active interest in engaging people about Kyle Rittenhouse thing. Whereas in the past he was kind of quiet. And I'm wondering if Dave
Yes.
Hancock is, kind of souping that up a bit. I
Which
can't
is a
tell you.
bad look for him, actually.
Well, I mean, I don't know if well, I don't know what I was going to say about that.
Well, when Gage gets online, he actually curses at people and actually say really bad things about them. He has a really foul mouth. I was surprised. He wasn't like that, when he was quiet. And people could take screenshot and save it and prove it.
He wanted to be an airline pilot. You're thinking of Dominic Black. I mean, Kyle might have, but Dominic Black was the
Oh,
one that wanted to be.
I think Kyle wanted to be an airline pilot as well.
Don't remember that.
Me neither.
Yeah. Yep. When I find it, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Oh, by the way, somebody asked which was worse, acquitted or fake news turkeys or Rittenhouse's turkey shoot. The turkey shoot game. It was pretty bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Like, if I was gonna make a Kyle Rittenhouse game, I would actually go way more offensive. It would be a Contra style game of Kyle Rittenhouse like going through different levels, killing Antifa members, because that would be
Kayla's
funny.
here.
I think Kyle should have just
Kayla.
stayed away from the video game deal. Kayla's on
Hello.
board.
I'm finally at a 30%. I thought I was charging it on the lightning charger, but I guess I wasn't. I don't know. The chargers switched with the 15 pluses when they came out with those. So it's like really confusing. And the headset jack switched too. And I'm like, so I have to get another pair of headsets. And they don't come with the headsets that come with the new phone or whatever.
I can
So
just picture you, Kayla, waiting for this thing to charge and listening to us talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, come on, hurry up.
uh, Well, I am about to light my cigarette through the stove because I don't know what I did with my lighter.
Oh, and Kayla has a lot of run-ins with Gage
I'm
Paul.
sorry, what?
Kayla and Gage,
Yeah,
they have
tell
a
us about
lot
that,
of.
Kayla. You've had your run-ins, but be careful, okay?
Well, let's just say that he's not a good person at all. 100%. If you guys want to go check through various replies on my Twitter,
I am right now.
yeah.
Oh, there it is.
So
Well, he's
he's
a
like,
legit.
isn't he like stalking you, kind of?
Um,
Oops.
Like his last name, Predigger, Predator?
yeah. I mean, basically, those parody accounts that they were making with my picture on it and pretending to be me and
Mm-hmm.
saying all the threats and the harassment and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. Threatening people online is not a good look.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, Kayla, you've been listening. Any comments on anything we've talked about so far?
Well, everything in those articles are lies.
Kayla is like she just lays it out. I was kind of hoping you'd stall me a little bit more because I'm trying to get my pipe going, and I said, Kayla, what do you think? They're lies.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
she's in agreement with me, right? Like, this is part of what keeps Kyle Rittenhouse in the news is that people keep lying about him.
Oh yeah, but then like they say we're the hateful ones when we're just given the facts. I don't
I mean, of
understand.
course, that's how they justify their lies.
Like the AR never crossed state lines and it was legal for him to possess. I'm surprised it didn't mention him killing black people because that's a common lie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they still do once in a while.
Occasionally, but that one after like 3 years or so, like that one's kind of fallen off the cliff. People realized he wasn't killing black people, but they will say that he wanted to kill black people. He just didn't get the
Yes.
opportunity, even though he was running around with an AR-15 with black people around that he could have shot at the entire
Another
night.
pants was right in front of him.
Waving his gun at them.
Okay, let's
And
You
continue
mean
yeah,
on.
so their definition of waving is carrying, right?
I guess so. Because it's an open carry state,
Yeah.
as we all know. And how
Uh,
Rosenbaum and Huber were innocent, which they were not.
No.
I think even Kyle has
It's
a little bit of a
ridiculous.
troll side. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And by the way, as I said, Yellow Pants was right in front of him, trying to taunt him into violence, and Kyle didn't shoot him. So
Just walked away. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yep.
Mhm.
okay, so let's see here. Let's go ahead and move on here. Um, he's Paul Prediger, actually here today. Ironically, Rittenhouse said he decided to come to counter protest me. He drove 6.5 hours for this, by the way. Well, you came even further, but okay. For comment
Oh
Drew after.
yeah, but hold on, Paul crossed state lines.
Yep.
Man, I'm going to jail for a long time because I've been crossing state lines my whole life.
Yeah,
Man.
dude, I know that's important.
Yeah.
Like, we should yell at him. Everybody's like, he crossed state lines to be there.
Everyone
Just
does. Everyone does. I
hammer
live by
that
the
in.
Illinois border. Sort of.
So Prediger was not in the audience, but he was on campus earlier that day for a press conference with a coalition of campus groups, including the Spanish and Latinx Student Association, SALSA. Hey guys, I know it makes that a really cool acronym, but I don't think that your association covers Spaniards. No, I don't think people from Spain are involved in your organization. Okay. While he spoke about the shooting for the first time in years, well, okay, Prediger focused most of his speech on Rittenhouse. Kyle has embraced and been embraced by those who peddle hateful rhetoric, who believe in nationalism that excludes those who do not look like or think like them. Kayla, what do you think?
Yes.
Does that
About
sound like Kyle?
no, not at all.
On so this is the trick they're pulling. Kyle well, actually, he says he has embraced and been embraced. And I know what they're referring to, right? Is like certain people of the Proud Boys, or just some people that were friendly to him that have views that could tangentially be considered hateful rhetoric, could potentially consider a version of nationalism that involves they're just saying white nationalism, right? That's what they're trying to say. Like, there might be people out there in the world that Kyle Rittenhouse has spoken to or been seen with that really has nothing to do with him. They just happen to be around, and that's how they're able to sneak things like this in.
Um, Gage knows better. He's followed my channel enough to know that all these things about the white nationalism
Yeah.
deal are not really quite there. He knows better.
Yeah.
You want to play? You want to play his dealio?
Sure.
Okay. I don't know. Tell me if this sound is coming through or not.
Okay.
Well, I've simply tried to live my life and not relive those moments.
Is the sound coming through?
I can hear it.
Okay. Let me turn it up. I think I can. No, it's turned up pretty much all the way.
Kyle Rittenhouse has taken a different path. He has used every moment to gloat and to make light of taking life. As if that were not enough.
Okay, so he's taken every moment to gloat about taking lives.
What?
I've never heard him gloat.
I haven't either.
Never.
Never.
Kyle has embraced and been embraced by those who peddle hateful rhetoric, who believe in nationalism that excludes those who do not look like or think like them, and who have sought to amplify a troubling desire for violence against supposed political, cultural, and religious enemies.
Actually, I gotta pause. When you were reading the article, I realized it was quoted, and it should have been like, yes, that was something Gage said. It wasn't the media just being slippery. No, he's just making crap up. That's what's going on here. This is not him trying to weasel or anything. He's just making shit up.
He's just spreading
I'm
lies.
not here.
Go ahead.
He's just spreading lies because that's what the left is doing to Kyle.
He's
Right?
spreading,
If you
yeah, and
say-
he's sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Well, he's spreading the same lies because he knows that they'll follow him and believe it.
Yeah, they
sell you a
clearly didn't
book.
watch the trial.
Somebody else wrote, or a full body
Who's
armor
in the
military
trial?
kit that I didn't design, or a subscription to an anti-woke payment processor.
Oh, by the way, though, as a witness, he was not allowed to be in there watching the trial.
Oh,
But of course, he
neat.
could watch it
Wow.
after
True.
the thing's over.
Or to sell you the lies of BLM. That speaker
What?
is across
Wait,
campus
wait.
today.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Sell you the lies of BLM? It's the lies of the media, not the lies of the BLM.
Let me go back and play it again.
Sell you the lies of BLM. A full body armor military kit that I didn't design, or a subscription to an anti-woke payment processor, or to sell you the lies of BLM.
Okay, so there's a few things here. He claims that Kyle didn't write his own book, and as I've said a million times,
Nobody
don't write
writes
your own
their own book.
autobiography.
Not
just
too many
don't.
people do that.
It's really hard to write your own autobiography because it's like writing your own letter recommendation. If you ever had to do that, you'll find out it's really difficult to do. And Kyle's not a writer, but then again, almost all of the people who have autobiographies never wrote their book. I mean,
Yeah,
Hillary Clinton didn't write her own book. Neither did
Obama didn't
Michelle
write
Obama.
his book. Like basically every time political season comes along and there's a major candidate, right? A book comes out about them, and it's their book, and it's written as them being the author for the book, but they're never really the author. It was all done by a ghostwriter.
Mhm.
I know, I know it. And to
That's
me, it's so
standard
funny
practice.
that the left, who are supposed to be the enlightened ones, right? The intelligentsia, they don't know this.
No,
Okay,
they've lost that mantle. They can keep trying to pretend like they have it, but they've lost it. I
And
think there
all these
might have been a
people, oh, go ahead.
I
I'm
said I
sorry.
think there might have been a time like in the mid 90s through the early 2000s throughout the Bush era where you could give the left some credit for that, especially on very specific issues like civil rights issues and whatnot. But they've lost that. It's completely gone. The left is all about the ends justify the means. They don't care what the means are. They will lie like crazy. They don't care what the facts are. It's just about getting to the ends.
damn, that one went down. Okay,
That speaker is across campus today, and his name is Kyle Rittenhouse. And for an extra $37, he'll even autograph his book for you.
so what? Nobody's forcing them to pay it.
He's the one that wanted to sell his picture and want like $30 for a picture of his arm.
Oh yeah.
What?
Wow.
I was like, yeah, Gage. I mean, Paul. He's trying to raise money to fend off frivolous lawsuits from dipshits like you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. He's the one responsible for Kyle being at the campus. If anybody,
I know, like he's one of the exactly. Like you created him. You're the one that put a Glock to his head.
Yes.
okay. So Predator
Let's
exited the press conference before the audience of journalists and activists could ask him any questions. TPUSA had a representative in the audience, apparently ready to ask a question. Okay, what about that? It's like, so what? I mean, this is the problem with this author. He makes a statement. TPUSA had a person out there was ready to ask a question. And what? Why are you telling us this? I don't know. After the press conference, the student group held a teach-in at Oscar Ritchie Hall. More of a bitch-in because that's basically what it was, right? Everybody crying and sniveling about the guy across the way there giving a speech. Notice they never tell you what the actual topic was. A building that also houses the university's Department of Africana Studies. Okay. At least I'll give it up to them. They're doing a teach in. They're not going in and trying to stop Kyle from being able to speak. So I don't have any problem with the teach in. I just kind of find it funny they call it that when in reality, and back in the 70s, it probably was, but you know what it was, them all gathering around and crying to each other.
They all went to a safe space while Kyle spoke.
In an interview with the Progressive, oh, good grief, not this guy, Yassine Shaikh, the president of the Kent State chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine. Yeah, because that's a real relevant group here, right? What is it? What does any of this have to do with Palestine?
Exactly.
I mean, okay, he, okay. So let's suppose that he just happens to be the chapter president. Then don't mention it. Just say Yassine Shaikh, a student at Kent State. Why mention the Students for Justice in Palestine? It's not relevant. Oh, says that much of the student body was not happy about having a gun rights advocate like Kyle Rittenhouse on campus.
All they actually did, like by including Students for Palestine, uh, like you can actually extrapolate the political positions of the people that are members of that group.
Oh, sure.
All they did is actually admit the bias of this person's statement. That's it.
Yeah,
Um,
it shows it's political.
Johnny, Liquidator in chat says Predator's account needs to be ID verified.
What do you mean? I mean, what's the point of that? I mean, I'm not quite seeing the big picture of that.
He should have been. He would have to be. I don't know. He just wanted me to point it out to you for some reason.
Okay. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what IP is and everything. I just don't know what the impact of being IP verified means. I mean,
ID verified.
ID. I thought you said IP verified. I'm thinking
No.
like, okay, okay.
Proof that
So
he's
the point
real,
is
I
that
guess.
that might not be actually Gage Grosskreutz on Twitter. I believe it is. However, you're right. I haven't proven it.
Sorry, I've never been ID verified, so I don't know much about it.
I
The
am.
process. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks to him. And I also like the color pink. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The media really tried to turn this into Crystal Night long knives. It didn't work. Okay, I think the Crystal Knocked I can understand. I'm not certain about the long knives deal, but I get it. I get your idea. I get what you're trying to say. What you're saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to demean it. All right, here we go. And that's also because it's an affront to Kent State's history. Of course, you probably know about May 4th, 1970. The National Guard came here and shot several students. Okay. What did I say? Kent State was probably one campus I think Kyle probably should not have gone to. What do you think?
I have mixed feelings on that. I just it's one of those things where like a tragedy happened in a place, like we're talking 54 years ago now, and we're still going to use that as an excuse for, not having this person because of something actually completely unrelated, completely different than uh, what happened that day. But it did involve a gun. That's the only commonality. Like I'm not really sure that should be a reason to say, oh, don't go to this campus to talk.
But that doesn't make sense because if they're using a shooter is using a gun, wouldn't you? Isn't it what Kyle is saying that you should have a gun so you could take out the shooter, right?
Well, the
Yeah, you
Kent
could make that argument. It's just like, yeah, it would have been great if somebody with a gun actually spotted the sniper and was able to like take a crack shot at him and stop the massacre.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. So keep in mind, um, Kyle's there for Second Amendment rights. It was the National Guard that shot up the students. I mean, it was government, right? And everybody says, "Well, no, that's militia."
That's what
No,
I'm
the
saying. It's
National Guard is not
completely
militia.
different.
And the other thing is that, and I did a story on this some time ago, but you had a whole bunch of National Guardsmen marching in unison. It's really hot. They can't see because they're wearing their
Mm-hmm.
not oxygen
Helmet.
mask. Gas masks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are throwing things at them. They're on alert, and somebody opens fire. And this, what they call sentimental shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hear somebody shoot, and you naturally
Mm-hmm.
start shooting yourself. And that's what happened. And obviously, I'm not defending it, but the whole idea that the National Guard went there, took up positions, and just started firing on protesters. And by the way, I think most of the protesters were actually shot with ricochets. But
Yeah, I mean that's why I have a really hard time just saying like the only commonality between those events is that guns were involved,
yeah.
and that's why I have a really hard time saying Kyle shouldn't go to Kent State just because he did something with a gun and other things happened with a gun that was a tragedy 54 years ago. I I just have a hard time using that as it's a reason why he should have said, well, out of all campuses, I'm not going to go there. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that because it's predictable, because the same people that attack Kyle are leftists, and they're doing everything they can to blame the gun, right? They've already gotten to the point where they can blame the parents, right? They're one step away from being able to blame the retailer that sold the gun.
Mhm.
So keep
I
in mind-
wonder if Kyle even know about the shooting.
I'm sure he
sure.
did at least after he booked the event.
I mean, he should know, right? But it's not exactly an unknown. It's a pretty big deal in history. But, you know, keep in mind, from their viewpoint, there's another commonality, and that was that protesters were shot.
Oh, okay.
From their viewpoint.
So there were protesters and guns in the same place. So
Yeah. And protesters were shot by, and in their mind, right wing, it's the National Guard. These are the squares. I could see, and I said it. I think it was just a bad look. I would not have advised him doing that. And I don't think he should have went out there and said, "I'm not going to Kent State," because I think he could have just quietly decided, "No, let's not go there."
Yeah.
Sympathetic fire, yeah, sorry.
there's
I think I
certainly
said
something to
sentimental
say.
fire.
There's certainly something to say for pick your battles, but that's not going to be the Kyle Rittenhouse story. So let's just give that up. He's not going to pick his battles. He's going to go to whatever battle that he's invited into.
Okay. The audience for Rittenhouse was a mix of older alumni, community members, and students. Yeah, that's pretty much the audience for just about every campus speech. Many had pro Second Amendment t shirts on. Oh my gosh. They had pro
The horror.
Second Amendment t shirts on.
God
One even
forbid.
wore a t shirt that had an image from the video of Rittenhouse carrying his AR 15 with FAFO in capital letters. Okay, FAFO stands for. Trying to find, oh my God.
I know.
I can't believe this is like leftists telling us the horrors of people showing up with provocative slogans on their t-shirts. They even had the F bomb, but they didn't even have the F bomb. It was just an acronym. That F stands for the F word. These are the leftists telling us that we need a dress code here.
Well, it's funny, and then they go through three things. It's a phrase among militias, Proud Boys, and other right wing groups. Like those are supposed to be scare words
Mm-hmm.
that only scare the left. I listened to it. I was like, militias are fine. Proud Boys, most light about group ever, and other right wing groups. And I was like, well, there's nothing wrong with being right wing. It's about half the country.
Yeah. And by the way, FAFO, I think, is pretty popular amongst a lot of groups. I don't think it's necessarily a right wing thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not.
And by look at the terror, those evil terrorists that are showing up at the campus. Oh my God!
I know. Well, I don't know,
January 6th,
dude.
2.0.
There's a lot of white people in the crowd, so that's probably problematic.
Yeah.
It's January 6th, 2.0.
The hall slowly filled up just moments before Rittenhouse took to the stage. Yeah, halls tend to do that when you have a speaker coming with his therapy dog, and they always have to bring up the dog. That dog really gets to them.
I don't see how. He's so cute.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a golden retriever. Good grief, you can't
Yeah.
get more docile.
Well, so the funny thing about that is, like in any other context, these people would be all about the idea of therapy animals,
Mm.
because that's something that, like, it's a huge left wing cause of expanding rights to people that have therapy animals, right? To allow the
Right.
dogs on the plan, to allow the dogs in all these different places. But Kyle Rittenhouse has one, and they got to bring it up like they're making fun of him, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's mean.
Here's my also advice to you writers: don't do this. Don't give just a line by line narrative of what happened. The hall slowly filled up. He took the stage. Who cares? I mean, it's almost like he's walking with his little, like, dictating to himself line by line what's happening around him. Nobody cares about that. Make it interesting.
Well, actually, the problem is that I'm pretty sure the events that were, if we were to rehash this in just regular words, this is actually a very uninteresting thing that happened. Outside the fact that left wingers freaked out.
Well, I mean, but you can make it interesting somehow. That's your job as a writer. Hey, how about some, figurative language? How about some metaphor? How about, imagery? Kyle Rittenhouse took the stage. The wispy mustache, whatever. Describe him. He seems nervous. He's stammered. Do something. But this, like, the
Well,
hall up. They opened the doors. The people walked in. It's just good
well,
grief.
well, Johnny, these are leftist writers, so I think you are holding them to too high of a standard.
For example, I remember I wrote that thing on Pudgies, right? And I said the what was it? The black Labrador walked around looking for attaboys and even walked by Kyle, uninterested. Okay, that's a little bit interesting, right? You're characterizing what's going on, but here it's just like, oh my God. I would have turned this thing down and said, look, this is just so dull. Okay, here we go. Many in the room were members of campus groups that earlier in the day had decried Rittenhouse being allowed to speak on campus. All right. So many in the room were hostile to Kyle, as we would have expected. There were at least 8 black suited security guards in the hall. I don't care. 3 were stationed near Rittenhouse and 5 throughout the room. Okay, yeah, if 3 were near Rittenhouse, I guess the other 5 would be around the room. No guns were allowed in the auditorium. Okay, you know what? Maybe that is a little controversial. Kyle Rittenhouse, he's pro Second Amendment, and he shows up, and they're not allowing guns in the auditorium. Hey, maybe you could talk about that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, we all know that that is not Kyle's doing. Guns are not
Yeah.
allowed in this college campus.
That's the campus rules. Yeah, that had nothing to do with Kyle. It's so dishonest to even
But at least you,
portray it that it had anything to do with Kyle or even mention it. In
by
fact,
the
I'm
way,
sure Kyle would have been like, everybody that has a lawfully owned firearm should be able to keep it in. Like he would have had no qualms whatsoever with them having that firearm in the auditorium. They could have all had AR-15 strapped to their backs, and he would have been okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
and by the way, I'm
I'll be
tired
right
of
back.
people. Hmm? Okay.
Okay.
I'm tired of people saying the right wing a bunch of overweight. Like, okay, sure. The questions during the short Q&A were mostly friendly, except for one student who asked him if by showing up in Kenosha with a gun in 2020, which was already tense after 2 days of unrest, he believed he was actually helping the situation. Rittenhouse responded by citing the number of BLM protesters that also had firearms, gaining applause from his friendly audience. Okay, at least that's somewhat interesting. All right.
Isn't there actually like some objective evidence that whenever people like Kyle showed up to resist the protesters, that the damage and amount of rioting went down?
Um,
I
I
thought
don't think
I
it's,
thought
it's
I heard something about that, like, but I
I
could
don't
be
think
wrong.
we need the evidence. I mean, they burned half the damn town down on the second night. On the third night, there was relatively little. I mean, it's that much is obvious. I think Nathan DeBruin, um, when I made that statement, Nathan said, "Yep, that's right," and Nathan was there. In
Yeah,
fact, there
I
was
know.
very little arson taking place on the third night. And I'll say this: I think the guards had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it's it's not a secret that armed resistance works. Like
Right.
that's what we use. We use it to secure stores with private security guards. We use it to, I mean, secure our cities from crime with our police. We use it to secure our country with military. Like armed resistance, we know works. It is at least effective on some level. Uh, so it shouldn't be a surprise as soon as armed resistance shows up against these protesters, quote unquote, that they stop burning shit down.
I think they might be writing it as a narrative like that because they viewed it as a dramatic, because a right wing person, Kyle, was there. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think the guy just can't write. This is, and by the way, this is very typical of early writers. They want to just tell what happened, but
All right, I'm back.
I can always go and look up in Wikipedia what happened. Tell me something that I don't know. And here, this really boils down to Kyle Rittenhouse showed up, gave a speech. A lot of people weren't happy about it. The end. Okay,
that's the actual story.
that pretty much. Audience members were asked to stay in their seats while the exit, which led through an area where dozens of protesters were assembled, was secured. The student from the earlier press conference refused, eventually shouldering through the blocked exit. Oh my God, they got through a door. This is exciting stuff. They were met with cheers from the assembled protesters. Yay, they got out. They opened the door all by themselves. There must be something important about that. I don't know. As the pro Rittenhouse members of the audience left, they were met with jeers from the protesters who had been waiting, holding signs and yelling "killer," like as what has happened at every one of these events. Many from the audience stuck around to debate with the protesters. Really? Gee, wouldn't it have been nice if he had listened in and reported on what the arguments were about? That would have been interesting. For example, one dude in a dress was making the argument, whatever. Law enforcement. Look, I'm a writer.
Johnny, why did it have to be a dude in a dress? That's too good. Because it probably was a dude in a dress, because that just shows you the kind of
Who was
people that were on the
Second
side.
Amendment person, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, it also could have been an interesting thing to talk about how the two groups seemed to appear different, right? They're dressed differently.
Right.
They act differently. They have different demographics. That would have been interesting.
Oh, you could show up and ask people from both groups the same set of questions and see the different responses. That's interesting. I like hearing that.
Okay, but here we
Because
got
I know they're living in two different realities, so I would love to hear the two realities that everybody's coming from.
Well, we have the final statement, the finale, guys. You get ready for this. This is high drama because this is where you want to leave the audience gasping. It states law enforcement stuck around until both sides dispersed to their cars and dorms.
They're just like, that's another way of saying, and nothing else of significance happened.
No, law enforcement is still there, right? They didn't stick around, and they're still there holding the line. Of course, they stuck around till both sides dispersed, but okay, so I kind of messed that up. But but I mean, why end your story like this? Law enforcement stuck around until both sides dispersed. Okay, badly written, terrible. And okay, I would expect maybe this from a freshman English Comp 101 C grade paper. That's how I would look at this. And you've gone through K-12. You've been taught similes, metaphors, all kinds of figurative language, and you use none of it. This is not a report. I mean, this is not a news report. This is supposed to be an op-ed. And yet there's no character to this writing whatsoever. It's just boring. Yeah, well. So Zach Roberts, you suck as a writer. Give it up. You'll never be anything as a writer. You need to go back and learn some hooks and techniques. There, I've said it. Any comments?
Said what I need to say.
But I will say, Zach, don't feel too bad because you're a rocket scientist compared to the next person we're going to feature here. You okay? I'm going to take me a minute here to find it. I'm going to turn off my camera for a second.
Oh God.
This guy. Indisputable with Rashad Ritchie, the man that has more degrees than anybody else on the planet. From universities nobody has ever heard of. But trust me, they're legit. This is from the same man that did his PhD in physics dissertation on information you could find in any elementary school science book. Oh, and unfortunately, I'm not nearly as well versed in all of Rashad Ritchie's shenanigans to keep going.
Mhm.
I just know he's full of shit. Well, anyway, while Johnny's figuring this stuff out,
I think
Oh
maybe
man,
there he is.
jokes. I had great jokes, and I was wondering, God, why aren't they laughing at these wonderful jokes?
you weren't talking. I was
Guess
just
what? I
trying
think
to fill in for dead air.
I'm going to have to go in there and edit that part out. Okay, Rashad Ritchie. And by the way, next time, guys, how about saying, "Hey, we can't hear you, dear Johnny."
You said you were going to turn
Oh.
your camera off.
Yeah.
Like I thought you were going to get up and
Just
do
repeat
something.
the joke.
Oh,
Repeat the jokes.
I thought you went to the restroom or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, got it. If I had
Repeat
just
the jokes.
if I had just muted myself, I would have a legitimate complaint, but I don't. I hate that.
I don't know how to mute on this. It like does not give me the option. I don't know what's going on with this restream thing, but it's like
That's okay.
Are you gonna retell the jokes?
No, because it's not funny the second time. And,
Well, it's the first time for us.
Well, none of us even heard it the first time.
well, you're
Exactly.
looking at him, okay?
All right. You're right. That's a nice joke.
what if I don't
Oh.
want to look at him though?
All right. So those of you who are not familiar with this boy on, I shouldn't have said that. Who's not familiar with this guy on the screen? This is Rashad Ritchie. He hosts Indisputable with Rashad Ritchie on the Young Turks. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know that, but you can actually get bumper stickers now that says "Beware, I know Dr. Rashad Ritchie." I am not joking you. You can order a bumper sticker that says that.
Wow.
But at any rate, he's got a whole bunch of degrees out there. He ranks number 4, according to a guy named Frankie Graham, who, by the way, claims 26 PhDs. So Richie claims numerous PhDs, Juris Doctorates, master's degrees, and you name it, and everything, physics, economics, law, you name it. He's the Renaissance man at everything. But he also seems to think that he knows a lot about Kyle Rittenhouse. So, and he does not like Kyle. So he had something to say about Kyle being at the protests. You guys ready for this?
Yep.
Mhm.
I'm clenching my butt cheek.
Since we're all talking about the Second Amendment, can I ask you something about the First Amendment? Of course. Okay, so the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, has said a lot of racist things.
Like what racist thing has Charlie Kirk said? No, we're gonna have a little bit of a dialogue of what racist things has Charlie Kirk said?
Okay, I'll answer the question of racist things he said. He says we shouldn't celebrate Juneteenth. We shouldn't celebrate Martin Luther King Day. We should be working those days. He's called Ketanji Brown Jackson an affirmative action hire. He's talked nonsense about George Floyd. And he said he'd be scared if a black pilot was on a plane. Does that not seem racist?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, well, after all the things I just told you, would you consider that hate speech?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay, before Rashad weighs in here, Kyle, that's not how you handle that. You're not there to talk about Charlie Kirk.
What? Kyle did just fine. It was that idiot that was asking the questions.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
you can't get sucked into that. And he did. And is this a lesson learned? The guy asked about Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, I mean, I'm Kyle Rittenhouse. If you want to ask Charlie Kirk about his views, I might be able to get him up to the stage. I don't know. Oh, he's not here. Whatever. But I'm not here to talk about Charlie. And you can't sit there and try to defend Charlie Kirk.
Yep.
And
no, you're right, Johnny. Especially because
I thought you were
Kyle,
about to say you're right, Kayla.
No, I'm sorry. Johnny's right on this one. And the reason why he's right is not because Kyle, like, I get, like, on face value, it's not necessarily wrong, but like when you're being a public speaker, being confronted by the audience, like, as the person on stage, you have to maintain power over the crowd. And in order to do that, like, when people give you hostile questions like that, you have to answer the questions in ways that you can legitimately respond to. And I don't think Kyle, like, he's not Ben Shapiro that has the wit to come back on him on every single little point he made about things that Kyle could not possibly be an expert in. So the best thing he could have done is, I'm not here to talk about what Charlie Kirk said. I'm here to talk about what happened to me and things I've said.
Yeah, but the time limit, though.
The
time limit.
Well, that would have saved time.
Yeah.
He could have just said, look, I'm not here to talk about Charlie Kirk. Hey, I tell you what, TPUSA might have his schedule of appearances. That'd be a good time to find him and ask him your questions.
Yeah.
But don't go in there saying, well,
Yeah.
I don't know he said those things.
No, like, Kayla, I completely get it. What you're saying, I actually completely get.
Thank you. I appreciate
No,
that.
I completely get it, because, like, initially you want to respond to that, right? Like, you would want to respond to that, but when I'm looking at, like, the idea of, like, making a political appearance or even a public appearance on a political topic, you've got to be a little bit more careful, and you don't want to step outside of what you can actually speak to. And Kyle most certainly cannot speak to what Charlie Kirk has said.
Yeah.
Kyle just doesn't have enough experience yet. He's just too new.
Yeah, maybe 10 years from now, if he keeps on this track, he would have absorbed enough
Mm-hmm.
information to respond to that properly, but he couldn't do it now.
Yeah, because this is like his first speaking.
I would like to see
At a
Kyle
school.
like with Ben Shapiro. That would be
Mm-hmm.
that would be cool.
Well, the other thing is you could say, hey, this is an institute. I'm sorry. Yeah. This is an institute of higher education. And you have a speaker here and you're asking that speaker about somebody else. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a college. Let's start, asking questions and debating like people who go to college.
Well, yeah, but the guy that got in front of the microphone talking to Kyle, he wasn't looking to do that. He was looking to ask loaded questions to score points.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was looking to be mean and bully him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if he was there to bully. I think that he thought he had lined up a really good question that was going to knock Kyle on his back. That's just right. We would do the same thing, right? He thought he had Kyle hooked, and Kyle unfortunately did get hooked.
No, he didn't.
He just wasn't ready for it. But
I don't think his answer was like the worst or whatever. It wasn't.
Yeah.
There were so many opportunities with all the loaded things, the BS from Floyd. I could have went through every single thing he said and gave a response to be like, okay, what go through. Some of them were about affirmative action, right? And just saying now, okay, so if you support affirmative action, I can say you actually at this point don't think that black people can get jobs based on their own merits. Okay. Next question. I'm not that racist. And then just go down the list. And then whenever he said in all the PS he said about Floyd, I was like, okay, now specify, right? PS about Floyd, I can't respond to.
Yeah, but that time limit though, like I said.
No, you respond to a person like that, they're not going to have answers.
Well, but keep in mind, it's also easy to get deflected on with that stuff. Pretty soon you're talking about George Floyd. And we're here to talk about me, my story. And I know that you may not want to hear that. Well, then why are you here? Leave if you don't want to hear what I have to say. But whatever. Let's go ahead and move on. He'll learn. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle, you did say we're going to have an open dialogue here with millions.
Yeah, we're going to have an open dialogue. Doesn't mean that you have to put up with everybody's shit, Rashad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And here he's going to beg for money, so I'm going to skip through this.
Watching 1%.
We shouldn't celebrate Martin Luther King Day. We should be working those days. It's called Ketanji Brown Jackson, an affirmative action hire. He's talked nonsense about George Floyd.
He said a whole bunch of nonsense about George Floyd. Really? That's what you came prepared with? But here's the thing, though. You don't know what Charlie Kirk really said.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're relying on these guys to feed you, and they're not going to be accurate. So don't go down this path. And Kyle, I mean, he certainly could have done a lot worse by trying to debate this guy. But to say, well, I didn't know that Charlie Kirk said those things. That was probably not the thing to say. But I mean, debating this person would have been really bad because first of all, they would have drowned him out anyway, even if he had a good point. Okay, let's move on.
And he said he'd be scared if a black pilot was on a plane. Does that not seem racist?
I don't know.
And by the way, I can say that Charlie Kirk did say something like that, but he was talking about DEI, and that he said that he would be worried if he felt that the pilot was hired because of that. But this is how the people in line
turn it around,
twist this around a little bit. And unless you're really well versed, you don't want to go there. And to Kyle's credit, he didn't try to debate the guy, but he could have done a lot better than trying to feign ignorance.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself fairly well versed on a lot of this stuff, but I would, in some of these instances, have a hard time. Right? Like it would be very easy for somebody to get in line if I was sitting there ranting just on the things I know and come up with something that would completely derail me.
Anything about that?
They answer no. Does that seem racist? Is a yes or no question, Kyle? After all the things I just told you, would you consider that hate speech?
That's a yes or no question, Kyle. I'll answer the questions how I want to answer them. You don't like it, leave.
Well, yeah, he was that. I didn't like that guy answering or asking the questions because he was not being very nice.
Well, I think it was somebody else that was yelling, "Hey, that's a yes or no question."
Well, they weren't nice either. All of them were
It's
nice.
a loaded question, as you mentioned, and also it really, well, by the very fact that it's a loaded question, you have to accept the premise of the questioner. But no, I don't have to do that. I'm sorry, no. I'm going to answer the questions how I want to answer it, and if you don't like it, that's just tough. It's my speech, but
I'm not going to comment on that.
Deflection!
that's not deflection. Dummy.
No, all of them deflect every single fucking day. Sorry for the language, but they do.
Yeah.
Truth.
Deflection! Yeah!
Oh, did you see the way that he hung that dog? It's amazing the dog's still alive. The way that Kyle basically almost tore his head off. Jeez. He had to listen to that crap for a while.
I know.
You ever see a dog how it carries its pups around?
Meanwhile, everybody complaining has a dog, and they're sitting there like they just can't keep the dog from trying to like run off while they have them on a leash, and they're constantly choking the dog back.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah! Yeah!
This guy needs to shut up.
Yeah, annoying.
Now look at him. Oh, he's so
I know.
proud.
I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was all over.
Oh, it was all over. Big deal. You know, like he just went to another campus to speak. You didn't gain anything there, Rashad.
Put up the picture full mass. Charlie Kirk, you must be disappointed in your mentee. Sir, you saying that you would be afraid of having a black pilot, sir? I would be afraid of having that hairstyle.
I'd be afraid of having you as the pilot there, Rashad. Really afraid. Because you know what? I'd be looking at that pilot certificate and going like, wait, where did he get this? Nicaragua? What?
Dude, accidentally, like Rashad Ritchie accidentally like just showing this picture and what he was talking about made me think it's like on Kyle's speaking tour with TPUSA, like Charlie Kirk should it should be one of those things where they have both people sitting on a chair and like, yes, Kyle's driving it, but you have the bigger person in the room to deal with all the other nonsense. Like he needs a shield in his speeches. Like he shouldn't be out there by himself. He doesn't know enough.
Yeah.
He's not smart enough. He's too young. Like if you're going to drag him out there in front of the public in order to answer all these questions, and knowing that he's going to have to like get approached with things that are just well beyond the scope of what Kyle could ever answer, like they should give him some support.
In other words, it's going to be like on a panel.
Yep.
You know, a panel. So you question the panel about this and let Kyle dive in when he wants to. By the way, he did pretty well at WKU. I listened to the entire speech. It was really hard to hear because TPUSA didn't do exactly a good job on the audio, but Kyle, believe it or not, did pretty well. He handled the question answer session pretty good. I have a video on it, by the way. He did kind of shoot back a sarcastic comment at one of the questioners. I thought that that was out of line, and I'll be honest, I really think that the audience should not have encouraged that.
Mhm.
But overall, other than that, he did pretty well. This event here that Rashad's talking about was not so good.
Yeah, I agree.
So we said it this week. Sharon Reed and I commented on the reality of Kyle Rittenhouse being qualified to be a lecturer at universities because he traveled across state lines and killed people or killed.
He's more
Oh
qualified than
my
you
God.
are.
Hold on. Richie just hit a home run right there. It's the home run that none of us have ever been able to fix or correct about the issues with the Kyle Rittenhouse story. Is that Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines.
How dare he?
He just hit the biggest point. We have no defense for that.
I mean, you could ask Kyle, did you cross state lines? And I bet you've been crossing state lines even after.
Yeah, he admitted he was guilty of that.
Yeah.
Killed a person or tried to kill others. I guess that's qualification these days. But because student organizations have invited him, really by way of Turning Point USA, they have amazing authority to express their freedom of speech, even if it offends. This is relatively routine on you.
Yeah, they have the authority to express their views on a college campus. Oh my God. That damn TPUSA and their freedom of speech. Ugh. But listen up.
University campuses. And I reminded the students that if you cannot stop by way of petition this individual from coming to your school.
Note that he's not telling them, his viewers, hey, look, if the guy wants to come on campus, you let him speak, he'll leave. It's all about free speech. He doesn't say that. He's lamenting the fact that the petitions haven't worked. Okay, but listen on.
Simply exercise your equally protected freedom of speech as well. Here it is. Students, you have freedom of speech too. Those that oppose Rittenhouse, the same freedom that he has to say what he wants to say on your campus, you have that same freedom.
Right. I mean, those who protest have absolutely the right to speak, don't they?
Or have a counter event at the same time where you speak about why you don't like Kyle Rittenhouse. It's fine.
You talk when he's talking.
You missed it. Hang on.
Wants to say you have freedom of speech too. Those that oppose Rittenhouse, the same freedom that he has to say what he wants to say on your campus, you have that same freedom. How about you talk when he's talking?
What's he saying? Talk while he's talking. Drown him out.
A heckler's veto, which is actually the opposite of free speech.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the guy who's supposed to be a lawyer, or he's trying to be a lawyer.
Yeah, this is like a court, like this is actually like a Supreme Court thing too, right? The heckler's veto cannot stop somebody from speaking. It just because somebody is saying things and other people say they might get violent about it because they don't like what they're saying, it does not stop. Like that does not in any way impede the free speech rights of the person that wants to speak. You have to let him speak, and the people that are being hecklers, those are the people that the law comes down on, not the speaker.
Well, keep in mind, though, the heckler's veto is about the police interfering to stop a person from speaking because they're afraid of violence. He's talking about basically talking over the person so that the other, hang on. He's wanting them to talk over him so that the people that want to hear Kyle can't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think they're both hecklers, like trying to be hecklers, vetoes, right? You talk over them so the people, because I think I'm sure you of all people know that just as I have a right to say something, other people have the right to hear me. Like that is part of free speech law.
Well, for example, I can't come in with an artificial noisemaker, drown out a speaker, and then say, well, I'm using my freedom of speech. Yeah, but you're denying the other person his.
Correct.
Yep.
And everybody in the audience the right to hear what the person has to say, which I think is also very important, and I think is left out of a lot of conversations about free speech.
Hang on a second. I wanted I found something that was of interest. Oh, and I'll tell you what the story was. I had it opened here. There was a famous case where a person showed up and was trying to give a speech, and a mob showed up and effectively drowned him out. The speaker was Frederick Douglass, and he was trying to talk about the evils of slavery. Those that drowned him out was a mob composed of pro-slavers. And keep in mind, Rashad is saying, well, what those pro-slavery people was doing was perfectly okay. I mean, this is just so asinine. Like, let him speak. But if you prevent him from being able to get his message out, you're denying him his right to free speech. Kyle was invited there by a campus organization. He has the right and the permission to speak there. It's his audience, and he's rented that auditorium for his use. For you to go in there and prevent him from being able to speak is a violation of his freedom of speech.
First Amendment, yeah.
I wouldn't even say First Amendment. I would just say it's a violation of freedom of speech, because the First Amendment refers to like the government stopping you from being able to speak, right? But this is freedom of speech is broader than that. And I can't believe that a person who claims to be tied in with the whole legal deal doesn't see the evil in doing something like that. But then again, I know why, because this dude is one of the most racist people you're going to find.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on.
Freedom of speech. All right, sharing thoughts here.
Well, it's by design.
By the way, what we have now here is dumber and more boring.
Turning point, and I'd say the Republicans in Congress too. Another one that they can put some lighter fluid on, stoke another cultural fire, if you will. This war. It's why the Republicans introduced the Respecting the First Amendment on Campus Act.
Ooh, that protecting the First Amendment on campus. Oh my God, those Republicans. Okay, I'm reading a private chat here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you don't have to. Like,
Okay.
that was just me pointing something out. But
okay, I'll catch it later.
Yeah. All right, let's put it up again. So per Newsweek, Kyle Rittenhouse stormed off stage. He was kind of told to leave by, it looked to be one of the organizers, because the organizer had, well, let's just say mercy, and got Kyle Rittenhouse out of there. So he storms off stage during an appearance at the University of Memphis on Wednesday after he was confronted about comments made by Turning Point USA founder and president Charlie Kirk. Turning Point USA is the leading organization basically footing the bill for Kyle Rittenhouse to do this tour. Rittenhouse was invited by the college's Turning Point USA chapter to speak at the campus. However, the event was met with backlash from a number of students who objected to his presence. And I must say, the students were actually quite respectful. Those who disagreed with Kyle Rittenhouse, they waited for an opportunity at Q&A.
Well, wait a minute. I thought that you were encouraging them to drown out the speaker, but now he's glowing about their respectability, how respectful they were.
They weren't respectful. On that speech, Kyle only spoke for 2 minutes, and then he rolled into Q&A because they weren't listening to him.
And what did he mean by the organizer had mercy?
He thought the person that, asked him to leave was the organizer. It was like his 30-minute was up, and, they said, it's time's up, it's time to go, Kyle. So he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just thinking.
Yeah, he's implying that he should have been harsher on him, or I don't know. He's lucky he didn't hit him.
They polled.
Or whatever.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
Somebody was saying something. And
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sean,
are you there?
What? No, if I was trying to say anything, it was accidentally.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I have nothing to say.
Posed their questions, and I
it was
must
the
say to
video.
the young brother,
I'm sorry?
It was the video. I think it was
okay.
the video. Sorry, I was on another tab.
That's fine.
who obviously has a bright future and is a true scholar, when he posed the question,
Wait, what?
at Charlie Church with Kyle Rittenhouse, they waited for an opportunity at Q&A. They posed their questions, and I must say to the young brother who obviously has a bright future and is a true scholar.
Oh my God.
How do you know?
You mean the Antifa person?
Oh my God.
Look, I'm not saying he doesn't, but based on what? Because he went there and shot off some questions at Kyle about Charlie Kirk. He's obviously a scholar.
You know.
They're working with Antifa.
When he posed the question, and Charlie Kirk, and Rittenhouse, Charlie Kirk's, mentee, he decided to say, well, what has Charlie Kirk said? Oh, okay. That's the game we want to play.
Well, no, that's not a game. It might have been a legitimate question.
So the college student proceeded to provide an answer because they're having an open dialogue. And when he provided the answer, as you can clearly see, Rittenhouse says, I don't know nothing about that.
That's because the questions weren't about Kyle. They were about somebody else. Oh my God. You guys want to listen more of this?
No.
Okay.
I know exactly what Rashad Ritchie is trying to be. He wants it's what I talked about earlier. He wanted Kyle Rittenhouse to be able to give a Ben Shapiro level answer to this person. And there's no way Kyle was ever going to be able to do that. Not now.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, I know.
Maybe 10 years from now, but not now.
This is the same guy who thought the quote-unquote bike Karen was guilty.
Oh yeah,
well, worse than
Rashad
that,
Ritchie
though.
has to say anyway because he's a
But
fraud.
worse than that. He's the one that told everybody where she was working and when she got off work. He basically doxed her, then had to go on about a week later admit that he got it all wrong. Then he turned around and went back on his original topic. He is the one, I am almost certain, Anna Kasparian complained about when she said that there was a rogue person on our TYT team that tends to shoot his mouth off.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who that is. I think it's going to take less than 3 years for Anna Kasparian to go independent.
Yeah, she probably needs to.
Just the things that's been happening and the people she's been talking to and becoming. She's starting to have an affinity for certain people, like Actual Justice Warrior. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a person he's certainly right wing or whatever. He was always just made fun of Anna, but also he encouraged her because he was like, I just keep seeing Anna Kasparian slowly getting smarter and smarter. Yeah, I think it's going to take about 3 years. She's going to go independent. She's going to be more like a Megyn Kelly type, who you really couldn't necessarily put her in a position exactly where she fits in on the culture war or whatever. But she's going to do her own podcast where she can just be honest. Who wants to take that bet against me? 3 years, Anna Kasparian, no longer Young Turks, and independent.
By the way, let me go ahead and finish off this session here because it's getting late, guys. Here is the quote I was talking about. In December 1860, Frederick Douglass and a group of abolitionists assembled at a public meeting hall in Boston to discuss how to abolish slavery. No sooner had the meeting begun than it was overtaken by a pro slavery mob. The police did nothing to prevent the heckling and disruption, and the meeting was eventually shut down. A few days later, Douglass gave an impassioned defense of free speech. To suppress free speech is a double wrong. It violates the rights of the hearer as well as those of the speaker. Okay,
Oh my
so
God! Didn't I just say that?
you're like Frederick Douglass, man.
No, like I said that before you read this, though, like about free speech,
Yeah.
about the right of the person to hear it, which is, I think it's way more important than a lot of people even think about.
I'll put the actual link in the description. So this is a good thing to snip and post in response to people who claim that, hey, well, it's our free speech too. We can just talk really loud, and so where that nobody can hear it because we have free speech. Well, no, we really don't. Doesn't cover it.
Yeah, it's not. If you actually read about what the Enlightenment philosophers talked about with free speech, you would realize it completely goes against the concept. The idea that you can just speak over somebody. That's not what free speech means. In fact,
Okay.
even the legal protection of free speech, it's not actually talking about the principle of free speech. They are two different things.
Mhm.
And law aside, why not just let him speak? Let those who want to hear him, and just go about your business.
Yeah, why are you there if you don't like them?
Mhm.
That's what it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to work.
Yes.
I remember it was was it? Oh, those two guys who used to do review movies, and there was this horrible movie out that was really violent, and one of them said, "Movies like this should be produced, and they should not be watched." Which is along here, like you invite the person and let those who want to watch and maybe hope that nobody shows up. Okay, I have no problem with that. But you by scaring them away using threats of violence and then shouting down, that's not
Mhm.
exactly organic. Any
That's not
final
free speech.
yeah. Any final comments? How about you, Allie? Anything you want to say as we leave?
Well, it does say in regards to if you Google limits to free speech, while the First Amendment protects most speech, it's not free to pass to threaten, harass, or otherwise violate the other's rights.
Thank you, Allie.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
All right, Kayla, your turn, I
100%.
guess.
What pretty much what she just said. And I'm just saying I think we all need to do a shot on here. Yes.
Hold on. I actually think I have. Yep, I do.
God,
What,
well, I have a whole 2 liter of Coke
can you
Zero.
give me just a quick second?
Yeah, I'm just saying I have a whole 2 liter of Coke Zero. Well, actually a half of one now.
I have
Okay, well,
McCormick's vodka, which is like the cheapest liquor you can buy where I live, but
I remember no. I remember the what was that really Kamchatka or
I'll be right back.
Kamchatka that I used to drink when I was like 19. Oh my oh.
yeah, Johnny's gonna go find his Evan Williams.
Yeah, I had
I'm gonna go
drink
find
that.
something too.
Oh, you're getting something too?
we're all finishing the night with a shot. Yeah, everybody in chat, I encourage you to join us, man. Just pull one back for all the BS. The fact
10
that we're
years
still
ago,
talking about Kyle Rittenhouse.
10 years ago, I might have, it would have been a different kind of shot. But yeah.
I just drank a whole bottle of root beer, so
Whoa, man, you're all effed up on root beer. That's
I
crazy,
still have a
man.
bottle of Coke.
You're about to come at me with like a spider monkey, right? Sorry, that was a Talladega Nights reference.
I haven't seen that movie in like 2 years. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's been a
there was
while.
a part where like the kids were like, because like the kids were completely unruly and they were just like, I'm gonna drink a whole bunch of Mountain Dew and come at you like a spider monkey.
Oh God.
I'm not a movie buff, sorry.
I'm not. That's not one
I'm
of my
not a movie buff
favorites.
either.
That's not one of my favorites with them in it. That it annoys me.
I actually don't think it's a great movie. I just thought that was one great scene.
Okay, you guys ready?
What is that, Alli?
Trust me, I'm holding up a shot.
What is that?
Star Wars. Hold on.
No,
Gotta
no,
go
no.
downstairs
What's
and
in
get my
it?
Oh,
Cool.
it's root beer.
Oh, I got my laptop here,
Cheers.
so just give me 1 second.
Did you
I'll tell
already
you
take?
what, this stuff, man, the Koval.
I'm sorry, my Coke.
Ooh.
It's in the fridge.
I was completely wrong. I thought you were just gonna like bring your bottle of Evan Williams over.
No.
That's
Koval,
not fair.
come on.
We're
You
supposed
actually
to
went for the
wait.
good stuff.
You're supposed to wait until I. Never mind.
Oh, well, let's do it. Do it.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I can't get it open.
Wow.
It's not just popped. It just mixed it.
Mine's Coke Zero, the best.
Oh.
No
I
sugar.
can't get my bottle open, so.
And then I guess we're gonna have to take another one when she gets the bottle.
I'm sorry.
No, that's just another one. That just gets us more wasted.
Oh, but don't hurt myself.
You did great. Everybody did great. It was a good show.
It's always
All right,
fun.
here we go.
All right.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank
What's
you,
that?
everyone. I said thank you, Johnny. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, no, thank you guys for coming on. It was a lot,
There we go.
a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So another shot, and this time you have to drink the whole thing.
I usually don't get glass bottles either, so.
All right, you guys ready? Let's do it.
Sure.
That was proof I did it.
Somebody who's at a shooting range.
Oh, it's fizzing all over the floor now. Great.
Oh, I think Bad Game just had an explosion.
All right, plastic bottle.
Thanks again for showing up. Appreciate it. And everybody go to the Johnny Walker Dread Show channel if you want to see a lot more about Kyle Rittenhouse. I have, I think, 400 videos now on him.
You have a lot.
Oh, by the way, you never answered my question. How many Rashad Ritchie videos do I have?
Can I guess?
Getting up there. The only thing you failed with Rashad Ritchie is you didn't have a. Maybe you should rename them all and get a Creed tag, because the best tag you have on your entire channel, and everybody should watch 100% of these episodes. Anything on Johnny Walker Dread's channel that says dumb arguments, watch it. They're the best. They're the best episodes. In my opinion, it's the best content that Johnny's ever put out. So
Kyle should just go up at these college campuses. They just read them off. Right?
Yep.
All right. Take care, everybody. I'll see you around.
Bye.